So like Christelle said, my name is August EUBANKS. I'm a PhD student, my third year in public health. I have a doctoral fellowship from the ANRS, and my PhD director is Bruno Spear. Today I'll be presenting a project on the rate and predictors of ineffective HIV protection for African MSM taking PrEP. So here's the outline for my presentation today. First, I just wanted to talk about HIV globally. So 1.5 million people were estimated to be newly infected with HIV in 2020. A large majority of them were located in sub-Saharan Africa. And while Eastern and Southern Africa remains the region the most affected by the HIV epidemic, the HIV response in Western and Central Africa continues to lag behind in the region. So the context of HIV in West Africa, it's a concentrated epidemic compared to Eastern and Southern Africa, where it's generalized. HIV infections are concentrated among certain key populations, like sex workers, their clients, gay men, and other men who have sex with men, MSM, and sex partners of all key populations. To give you an idea, HIV prevalence in MSM is 13.3% versus 1.4% in the general population. So some reasons for this concentrated epidemic among MSM can be explained by the complex legal and cultural context, with laws criminalizing same-sex behavior, heteronormative attitudes, which can lead to stigma and discrimination, economic constraints in the region, biological factors, and all of this leads to a lack of knowledge in MSM and their behaviors, limited access to tailored HIV prevention and care, as well as research and clinical data, and then finally, an increased risk of HIV exposure and infection. So one potential biomedical solution for this is HIV Pre-Exposure Prophylaxis, or PrEP. It's an antiretroviral treatment to be taken before any HIV exposure. It can be taken daily, so once a day, or event-driven, or the 2+1+1 protocol. It's proven effective, and uptake and adherence have been widely studied in high-income countries. It's even shown a reduction in the number of new diagnoses found in metropolitan cities where transmission is mainly among MSM. And PrEP scale-up is urgent to contain the epidemic in West Africa, but implementation has been slow despite the adoption of WHO recommendations to include oral PrEP in national HIV guidelines. So one of the few demonstration projects to date providing PrEP to MSM in West Africa was the co-MSM PrEP cohort. Some important features of the cohort were the involvement of MSM-friendly community-based clinics, the central role of peer educators in adherence and study retention, and the possibility to switch between daily and event-driven PrEP as participants desired. Here I put the cohort seminal article, which showed that PrEP uptake helped prevent new HIV infections. We found an HIV incidence of 2.3 per 100 person years versus 10 in the previous cohort, co-MSM, that didn't include PrEP. However, there were some problems with adherence, especially for event-driven PrEP. 15 out of the 17 seroconversions were among these users. And then finally, they found that PrEP use decreased over time. So despite some participants' intention to use PrEP, the possibility to switch regimens is desired, and the support provided by peer educators, many participants still used it incorrectly. We wondered if barriers to PrEP uptake and adherence would be heightened in West Africa due to the difficult legal and cultural context, social vulnerabilities, socioeconomic strain, etc. We wondered who's at risk of HIV seroconversion, so specifically those with PrEP non-adherence and condomless sex. And then we wondered, how do co-MSM PrEP participants protect themselves or not from HIV, and the determinants of protection or non-protection? So our objective for this study was to investigate the rate and predictors of ineffective HIV protection, i.e. incorrect PrEP adherence and condomless sex in the MSM PrEP study. So MSM PrEP is a prospective cohort study initiated in November 2017 in 4 community-based clinics in Mali, Côte d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, and Togo. MSM participants were 18 years or older, reporting at least 1 episode of anal intercourse with a man in the 6 months prior to enrollment, and at high risk of HIV exposure or wanting to take PrEP. They were recruited directly from the previous MSM cohort, CoMSM, as well as new participants, which were identified by the peer educators. So the study consisted of a quarterly follow-up where they received a free clinical exam, HIV testing, STI screening and treatment, as well as the provision of condoms and lubricants. PrEP was delivered either daily or event-driven, and they were provided with tailored prevention and adherence counseling from peer educators. To complement this, there was the quantitative data collection. Socio-behavioral data was collected by face-to-face questionnaires every 3 months by trained research assistants, as well as clinical data recorded at each visit in a standardized medical file. So our study population for this analysis included MSM PrEP participants enrolled between November 2017 and November 2020, with at least 1 available questionnaire from M3 to M36. Data on participants who declared no male partners in the previous 3 months, stable or casual, were excluded, as well as data from baseline because there was no pill intake at that point. And as the study focused on PrEP-based HIV prevention, participants who seroconverted during follow-up were censured at their seroconversion date. So for this analysis, our outcome was based on PrEP adherence and or condomless sex during the most recent anal intercourse with male partners only. Adherence was considered correct for the following situations. For daily users, at least 4 pills in a week before their most recent intercourse. And for event-driven users, it had to be taken as prescribed. So then incorrect PrEP adherence was defined as any other pill-taking combinations or no pills taken before or after sex. Condomless sex concerned both receptive and or insertive anal intercourse. And our HIV protection outcome was considered effective when the participant had correct PrEP adherence and or used a condom, and ineffective when the participant had incorrect adherence and no condom use. So that formed 2 subcategories of ineffective protection and 4 subcategories of effective protection. So for this statistical analysis, we sought to identify factors associated with ineffective HIV protection. To do this, we used the GEE method using a binary logistic distribution function. All univariate and multivariate models were adjusted for country and recruitment type, and all covariates with a p-value of less than 0.2 in univariate analysis were eligible for the multivariate model, which was constructed using a forward selection technique, and the goodness of fit was verified using the QIC. Potential covariates included sociodemographic and socioeconomic characteristics, cohort or PrEP-related characteristics, things to do with the MSM identity, such as sexual orientation, their gender, being out, and psychosocial aspects, and substance use, and finally, sexual behaviors. So for the sample characteristics of the 520 participants who were included, 40% came from Mali, 23% from Togo, 19% from Burkina Faso, and 18% from Côte d'Ivoire. 74% chose event-driven PrEP. 56% were recruited from the previous cohort, CoMSM. The mean age was 26 and a half years old. 55% were employed. 57% declared being bisexual, 40% homosexual, gay, or trans, and 2% as heterosexual. 79% declared having a stable male partner, 55% reported a casual male partner in the previous 3 months, and 53% said they had the receptive or versatile position versus those who were exclusively insertive. So after a medium follow-up of 12 months, HIV protection was ineffective for 500, or 18% of the 2,838 most recent anal intercourses reported over the study period. Incorrect PrEP use in the absence of condoms accounted for 8% of these intercourses, while neither PrEP nor condom use accounted for 10%. In terms of effective HIV protection, 22% of intercourses were protected by both correct PrEP adherence and condom use, 29% by correct PrEP adherence only, 20% by condom use only, and 11% by incorrect PrEP adherence in combination with condom use. So here are the final results of our final multivariate analysis of predictors of ineffective HIV protection. The first predictor was participants who found their financial situation to be difficult or very difficult and who were using event-driven PrEP. Those who found PrEP use to be very or rather difficult. Those who were not out to any family members. Those who were not a member of an LGBT and/or HIV/AIDS association. Those who had a high-risk alcohol use disorder score, and finally, those who declared having a stable male partner. So our results show that an MSM enrolled in the co-MSM PrEP study in West Africa in 2017-2020, HIV protection was ineffective in 18% of all most recent anal intercourses. They also showed that ineffectively protected participants were more likely to be financially insecure event-driven users, have a high alcohol consumption, were less involved in the MSM community, less open about their sexuality to family members, and were more likely to have a stable partner. So in light of these results, we recommend screening and enhanced adherence counseling for socially vulnerable event-driven users, as well as more comprehensive counseling for switching, stopping, or starting PrEP. Secondly, we recommend routine screening for hazardous alcohol consumption in PrEP programs, as well as substance abuse counseling when needed. We recommend incorporating social capital interventions, especially for community-naive MSM, and continuing to advocate for LGBT rights and against same-sex stigma and discrimination. And finally, enhanced counseling on HIV risk in stable partnerships, as well as maybe enrolling participants' partners and/or having dyadic counseling for couples. There were some limits to this analysis. The first was this was a convenient sample, so it wasn't fully representative of local MSM populations, but a previous analysis did show that when we compared participants from co-MSM with the newly recruited participants, that we reached a new profile with the addition of PrEP. So maybe it's more representative than we originally thought. Social desirability bias can obviously decrease the sharing of sensitive topics and increase PrEP adherence and condom use, for example. But this was minimized by training research assistants, and this regular contact helped form a trustful relationship over time. Some believe self-reported adherence to be less reliable, but studies have shown that self-reported outcomes do in fact predict drug concentrations, and it's the best option in low-resource settings like co-MSM PrEP, where biological measures are difficult to implement. And then finally, we didn't take into account the sero or treatment status of partners, not when we made the outcome, despite us knowing that undetectable equals untransmissible. But the HIV care cascade is far from the 95 UN/AIDS targets in West Africa, so we believe this had little epidemiological impact. So in conclusion, despite PrEP and condoms being offered free of charge as a part of a comprehensive sexual health prevention package to participants, the rate of ineffective HIV protection was non-negligible and persisted throughout follow-up. And while rapid scale-up of PrEP programs in West Africa is essential, they must be tailored to the needs of socially vulnerable MSM who might struggle to adopt PrEP into their lifestyle. I just wanted to thank the MSM participants and the staff of the community-based organizations who participated in the co-MSM PrEP study and all of our other partners near and far. Also wanted to thank our funders, ANRS and Expertise France. If you would like any more info, please use my email below, and you can look out for this article in a future publication in AIDS and Behavior where it's currently under revision. So thank you for your attention.